Jesus was a rock star.
But I just got to tell you, we are doing, actually before I do that, let's do our mantra. Would you focus your heart and mind on the Lord with me? And we just want Jesus to have all of us today. Dear God, come and make your way in this place. That your Holy Spirit would take us the way we are. And you are so good and so faithful to take us where we are. And then you bring us to where we need to be. You sanctify us. Not that you forgive me, but you change me. So I get to be more like you. God, I thank you for that because I never could change myself. Willpower? Yeah, I don't have a lot of willpower. But I got Jesus' power. I got the Holy Spirit. So we just thank you for that today, God. And with that in mind, would you pray with me and say, Jesus, help me to be what you want me to be. Do what you want me to do. Because people without you go to hell. Yes, God. Thank you so much, everybody, for praying that with me. And we take eternity really serious, and today has to do with that. Today, this is our third core principle. All right. Now, so far, what have we done? The first principle that we had, and I'm not going to have it on the screen, but we are faith-filled, bet-the-farm risk-takers. We will not insult God with wimpy prayers or small dreams. Okay. Then last week, what was last week again? Anyone remember? What was it again? It was I forget my own. Oh yeah. Sorry, thank you, honey. We are not spiritual consumers. We are spiritual contributors. We don't believe in going to church. We believe we are the church, and we exist. I didn't say it right. I'll try it again. We are not spiritual consumers. We are spiritual contributors. We believe that we are the church, and the church doesn't exist for us, but we are the church, and we exist for the world. Should I try it one more time? And did you get that? Okay. We are not spiritual consumers. We are spiritual contributors. Right? We do not believe the church exists for us. But rather, we believe that we are the church and we exist for the world. Oh, man, see, it's easier when I got it on the screen. For me too. But today, we are irrationally generous. Okay, we are irrationally generous today, and we'll look at it here. We will lead the way with irrational generosity. We truly believe that it is more blessed to give than receive. Now, this entire time, every January for the last 6 years or so, I have preached on our core values. And if you want to know how my head works, I still trip over them, saying them. But I've done this for a lot of years. A little harder this year, as you might imagine. Every week, how do you be faith-filled when the whole world is falling apart? Nothing that you plan it work, and everything is tough. It's tough to be a spiritual contributor when you have to. It's difficult to even volunteer because you're not supposed to be around people. And this morning, thank you to all of you that were here at 9 o'clock. Yeah, about 20 years. And this church has about 200 refugee Christians who come and worship every Sunday. And they have had some fantastic success with ministering to the Muslims in our community. Now, I've known Pastor Paul. He's been in Fargo 20 years. I've known him for a solid 12, I think. I've known Pastor Paul for, and he's a more godly man than I am. I'm just telling you, he just is. His faith and his love for God and commitment to people and ministry. He's. I don't know if you got people like that in your life, but I feel like Wayne and Garth, I'm not worthy. When I'm around Pastor Paul, he's the real deal, and he's been. People have tried to kill him, and he would tell the story, and someday we'll hear more about that. But anyway, they have a building that if you guys went there, you would feel full if there was 50 people there. And it's a tiny little old church in West Fargo. And they get over 100 people and packed in that little space. It's probably, I don't know, it's a quarter of the size of just those chairs right there. I think probably the whole sanctuary that they have. Maybe a couple rows bigger, but it's really small. And they've been trying to minister to all these folks. And they're doing good ministry. And I was with a group of people that are looking to raise funds, and they're raising $300,000. And so I'm sitting there, and of course I love Pastor Paul. I'm personally aware of the ministry they're doing. I can tell you some fun stories, but I want to give Marcelo lots of time here as much as I can. And so they're building this thing, and I'm sitting there, and I thought, you know what? I want to help them build that building, but I want to do more than that. And so what I'm going to offer a challenge to you at the end of the service, because we don't really have a board, really, because we're such a little church plant, and we have people who serve in a board capacity, but we're young and we're small, and so, but I wanted to involve you, and so kind of a blunt instrument way of involving you. At the end of the service today, I'm going to give you an idea, and I'm going to ask you to join us in supporting All Nations Church moving forward. Marcelo, would you come on up, my brother? Of course, Pastor Paul is preaching this morning, on Thursday. It wasn't like I could say to Pastor Paul, can you be here this Sunday? Here you are, sir. And if you and down here, I go ahead and take off my mask if you want, if that makes it easier. But tell me your last name, Marcelo.
Yeah, my last name is Logo.
Logo.
And then just people make it just easy. Yeah. They say Logo.
Logo?
Yeah.
Okay. Marcelo Logo.
Yeah.
See, there's a reason why I had forgotten that. Marcelo is one of the leaders. He preaches over at All Nations Church. He's one of the leaders there, and he's a beautiful man of God. And I've asked Marcelo to come and share with you guys a little about the church, some of the challenges, some of the incredible testimonies of reaching Muslim people, and the incredible price. If a Muslim becomes a Christian, it's very different than if one of our American friends and family becomes a Christian. And so now, Marcelo, I want to have time to do the challenge with them. So that big clock right there, and the big hand is on the 10. I'll come on up here and I'll wrap a couple things up, okay?
Okay.
All right, bless you, brother.
Yep. Yeah, first of all, let me just introduce myself. My name is Marcelo Loglomo. I am from Sudan, before it became a Southern Sudan. And I immigrated here in 2005. I moved here in 2005. And I am married, have 2 kids. One passed away almost 3 years ago in 2018. He was drawn into the water in West Fargo. And I remained with one. His name is Jeremiah, and then 2 pastors' kids. I have Josiah, and then I have Hope. They came with me as his father traveled around and preaching the gospel. And I am here also give God thanks, because you're also here to give God thanks because we know what God has done in our life because of His promise, of His mercy. That's why we are here. And I came from a country where dominated by the Muslims, and we are persecuted And I ran to Egypt with that bitterness and anger in my heart, whereby I'm looking back to do revenge. But something happened when I was in Egypt. What happened is, one day, one of the Muslim guy who came in Egypt for the treatment, and he ended up didn't have any money, and he was traveling, supposed to go to the hospital, and he took a train, and when he reached the stop sign, and he went so far. And what happened? So they arrest him, and they came with his wife, and his wife left in the police station. And he was around the place begging for a money, and nobody gave him a money. And in that day, I used to travel around, but I didn't have even money because I was working, and I was sent to buy something, but I didn't have money in that time. By myself, I was fasting. I'm not able to eat. Only what I have in my pocket, according to their money, is called pound. Consider here maybe 10 cents. And I was having that money only in my pocket. But this man came around and called me. And when I look around in the multitude of the people, because a lot of crowd, and then I hear the voice so clearly, because you can recognize among maybe 100 of people, if somebody who you've been together in the same country shout a loud voice, you will remember that person is from different background. And I turned around and I saw my brother from the Muslim background. And when I turned around and saw him, what happened to my mind, to my heart, I was broken. And then there's anger and there's rage, where I waiting for him, what exactly he need from me. Because I already left the country. I am in Egypt because of them. So what he is looking after me. And then I turned around to him, and then I just saw him. And then he said, he was here begging for almost 2 hours, so nobody can give him anything. He need my help. And then I begin to think in my heart, number one, you guys are Muslims, and you came into the Muslim nation because Egypt is a dominant Muslim nation. And the second thing, you guys persecute art. And the third thing, you guys are rich people. But what does it to do with me? What does it to do with me? That's what I speak in my heart. But I didn't say to him. But later on, I remember the words of the Lord with Joseph in Egypt, when his brother sell him out to slavery. And when his father passed away, and his brother changed my life completely. And when I came to America, I became somebody changed. Doesn't matter who have done for me something wrong, and I know I have my Redeemer beside me, and I have to pray for them, and I have to pray for the change for everybody, because God is looking for those lost souls. But thank you. That's why we are in West Fargo, to reach for them and to reach for everybody, that they will come to Christ, to know God, because we have gone through, and God took us from all these things to train us. That's why He have made evil things to change to something good. That's why we are here. If there's no war, we are not going to be here. And we are here for God's glory, to do His mission. And that's why He sent us as a refugees, but as also a missionaries in the same package of the refugees. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcel. Yes, give them a round of applause. Thank you. And they have been successful reaching Muslims in our community like we never ever could. I mean, never ever could. And Marcelo, you check my work a little bit, would you? So if I say something wrong, you just wave at me and fix me, okay? But a little while ago, there was a child that had cancer in her eye, right? And it was a Muslim family, and they were, now I didn't know this, and so all I'm repeating is things from Pastor Paul, and I didn't know this, but there's witchcraft in Islam, and they had tried to help this daughter and stuff, and so finally nothing was working, and they were having to go to the Mayo Clinic, and they said, you've tried everything, why don't you have the Christians pray for you? And so they came to Pastor Paul that he would pray for this girl with cancer in her eye that had been to the Mayo Clinic and things, and it was a terrible deal. And so they were going to do an operation on the child's eye, and if the operation was successful, the cancer would be gone, but the child would be blind. That was the best case scenario from the Mayo Clinic, is that the child would be blind but not have cancer. And so they bring the child to Pastor Paul, and Pastor Paul prays for the child, and they pray a prayer of faith, and they pray that God would heal the child. And can I tell you, our African brothers and sisters, they know how to pray a prayer of faith in a way that we have no idea. When God is all you got, you realize He's all you need. And so Paul prays, and then this kid goes back to Mayo Clinic, and of course the punchline is the kid's healed. They did no operation on that kid at the Mayo Clinic. Now you might think, well, that Pastor Paul, he's a nut. He's not a nut. I promise you. I've known him a long time. He's a credentialed minister, and he's not a nut. This happened, but the kickback. They got the Muslim community then, and again, the Muslim community is made up of individuals, okay? And so I'm not saying all Muslims are a certain way or anything like that, but this particular group of people began to elicit people who did witchcraft against Pastor Paul. And then they threatened his life. And Pastor Paul is so funny to tell the story. He says, yeah, but I'm in America. You can't just beat me up in America. The police will come. Back in Africa, you could do whatever you wanted, but not in America. He gets pretty excited about that. And I have personally had the opportunity to get to know this community of people, because years ago I used to do campus life. And I've always just anybody who hears about Jesus, I'm all there, right? And we'll be talking about that next week. We'll do anything short of sin to tell somebody about Christ. But it was, I discovered that if I invited the refugee kids to a gym night and did music and videos and a gym night, I could get and gave them pizza, I could get them to come. And so for a period of time, every week we had anywhere from 75 to 100 kids. and 80% of them were refugee kids. No, it was chaos. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. There were balls flying everywhere. And I got to know these kids. And they were beautiful kids. And they had come through the refugee camps, all of these kids. I remember one night I was sitting at Little Caesars Pizza, because I could buy a lot of pizza cheap at Little Caesars. And we're sitting there at the table, and the kids are there, and they're telling me about the refugee camp. And there was like maybe 6 kids sitting around the table that I was at. Every family, of those 6 kids, I think that there were 3 families represented. All of the kids there at the table had siblings die because in the refugee camp, maybe it was because you're a Christian, maybe it was because they said if you get more food than somebody else, they can get jealous. But they would poison each other's food. And about this little group of kids. So we can't even begin to fathom to actually be hungry. You know what I mean? Or to actually, one kid that I worked with a lot, he ended up on the wrong side of the country when war broke out. And you think you have to walk a long way if you have to get to North Fargo. He walked like 75 miles to try to get to where his family was again, because he was on the wrong side of the country when everything fell apart. And this is a beautiful kid. I mean, he was just such a wonderful, wonderful guy, and loving Jesus too. Well, one time, I did this a few times, but one time in particular, I brought about 35 of them fishing. And so I had this van, and I got my big black dog, and we take these kids out fishing. And the first thing they did is they broke all of my fishing poles. Because they didn't really know how to use them. And then they're like, "Oh, Pastor Scott, we'll teach you to fish the African way." And so they took apart my fishing poles, and they wound the fishing line around sticks. And we're in this little lake that was full of sunfish. There was no public access, and it was on my aunt and uncle's farm. It was so many sunfish. They went out, and they caught hundreds of sunfish. I don't think, I'm sure all of them had fishing licenses. They told me they did. But I know we weren't over the limit, because we did have 35 kids, and I think you can keep like 50 sunfish, something like that. But they catch, it was so many fish, and they bring them in. Now, I was youth pastor, right? I would bring American kids fishing, right? And American kids fishing, oh, look, you touched the worm, and the boys are, and the girls, nobody touches fish. I'm doing all the hooks, myself and stuff. African kids are a different experience to take fishing. They break your stuff, but they make better stuff that works well for them. And then, so the boys go out, and the girls stay on the beach. We're just hanging out. The boys go out, and they bring in, again, hundreds of sunfish. And then they give it to the girls, and they go back out again. I said, whoa, wait a minute. The rule at my place is if you catch them, you clean them. Because I usually end up cleaning all of the fish, and that's not fun. And then, so no, you guys get back here. You're helping clean these fish. And they go, oh, no, Pastor Scott. It's okay. And they clean all of the fish. Now, American girls, they won't touch the fish, okay? They won't go anywhere near the fish. The African girls, they clean all of the fish. They brought rice, and they brought ingredients to make this sauce. I didn't make the fire. They made the fire. They cooked the fish. And then, when the boys came back in with another just as big pile of fish, just a ginormous pile of fish. And the girls had cooked all the fish, and this was interesting to me. They laid out all of the plates, and one for each person, and everybody got exactly the same amount of food. And and nobody ate anything until all of the plates were laid out and all of the plates were served. And I thought to myself, you know what? We have no idea what it is to not have enough food. I'm sure that was a habit that they picked up. Because they had situations where there wasn't enough to go around, and so they did that. And can I tell you, just wonderful group of people that are in our city, that are our neighbors, good, hard-working people, Christian, they love God. And so then the girls come up and clean the rest of the fish that the boys brought in. They didn't touch the fish; they just laughed at me, and I suggested they should. And then each family got a portion of fish, and each family got a bag of fish to bring home. But this church, in the last little while, They have gotten 25 Muslim people who have come to Christ and become a part of the church. Now, it's pretty different for a Muslim person to come to Christ than you or me. I was out driving to church this morning. My daughter and I were talking about that. If one of your friends or family who have come from our American, they'll become a Christian and they're just kind of joining the prevailing culture. In the Muslim world, for many of them, in the experience, they lose all their friends. They lose all of sometimes their lives are threatened. Pastor Paul has been threatened with death multiple times because someone came to Christ. Which he just, the authorities will protect me, he tells them. He's so fun. But they are effective, they are beautiful people, and they are meeting in a building that is just, it's a wonderful building, and it has served you guys, but it is not something that you would feel good about going to. It is just tight, and just so you know, too, you guys, if I can get you to raise a hand, or if I can get you to shout with me a little bit, church, I'm doing pretty good. If you were at All Nations this morning, they would all be dressed like Marcelo, by the way. They dress infinitely better than we do. To come to church, God gets your best, is the attitude, which is just awesome. And they dance, and they dance, and they dance. They can sing one song for like 20 minutes. Am I lying? That's the truth, right? And they're spinning and twirling, and these suits, they're dancing in a room that has, 100 and some people in it that is the size of a quarter of these seats right there. They love the Lord, and they're effective, and they're building this garbage. And that's why, not garbage. It's a wonderful building that has served your church, but you wouldn't want to go there. And they're going to build onto it. And that was the appeal that they had on Thursday night. I was with a group of people, and Pastor Paul spoke. And after that is when I asked, hey, Pastor Paul, can you loan me one of your guys to come and share with our church? Because we want to be involved. So then I've been praying about it. Here's what I want to challenge you with today. We have about 10 minutes left here. So I want to give you time to think about it and pray about it. We have a donor who is going to match $100 to any of your $100. Now you may think, well, that's not very much money, $100 per month. In other words, now we look around, and just so you know, that's a pretty big commitment for us. That's a step of faith, and it's irrational generosity. I'll just be honest with you. I can tell you, God is through this COVID thing. God has been incredible. He's been so good. I've not missed a paycheck. I'm a full-time pastor, and the Lord has been incredibly good. We've had some miracle checks show up. God has been, He's had our back. But just so you know, everything we do right now is a step of faith. Okay? There's no extra. There hasn't been for some time. But you can't, without faith, you cannot please God. And so we have someone who said, hey, I will match each month $100 if your people will rise up and make a monthly commitment to All Nations Church. Now, how this monthly commitment would look is that text to give number, and you can do it monthly right there, or you can go to our website and do it. All you got to do, though, is let me know this is what the gift is for, so I can designate it and make sure that that gift is going exactly where you want it to go. And it's irrational generosity because it doesn't make any sense. When times are tough, why would the church pull back and take on a $2,400 a year? And for our little church, just so you know, that's not nothing. That's a significant step of faith for us. But I have a significant God. I have a God, and sometimes when things get tough, I get a little indignant sometimes. And Lord, devil, I'll show you, God, we're just all in. God, we're all in, Lord, and we just want your favor on us. And so I could not say enough good for these people. How much I trust these guys, Pastor Paul and his team. And so what I am asking for this morning, and go ahead and pull out your cards today, your prayer cards. And you can put your prayer requests on there. You can draw a little picture, if you want, whatever. But hold that card in your hand, and I'm going to pray. And just so you know, any faith commitment you make today to give every month, not going to do it. We're going to pass it right along to All Nations Church for their building project and beyond. Because the reality is, if we support them, I really believe that those dollars are going to make an impact upon eternity. The 10,000-year rule. There's not too many things you can do today that are going to matter 10,000 years from now. I believe with all of my heart that if we link our arms together and we support All Nations Church with $200 a month, $100 from this matching donor, and the rest from all of us. If we do that, I think there's going to be people in heaven because we came up alongside of All Nations. And like I said, they're going to spend every dollar well. I just really believe that. And so in a minute, I'm going to pray. And what I would like you to ask the Lord, what do you want me to do for All Nations every month? And without an end date. Now you can put it, just do it until Jesus comes back. That's my intention. As long as they're doing good ministry, reaching the people that I could never reach, I tell you what, that's money well spent. I'll do that till Jesus returns. Because that's our community. And they need Jesus. They need Jesus. And we can preach Jesus to them here in Fargo better than any other place they might have lived. It's really an incredible opportunity. So ask the Lord, what do you want me to do? And then your gift is going to be doubled up to $100. I think that'd be pretty amazing. Now, what you'll do when the Lord speaks to you, write it on the card and drop it in there, and I'll look at it, and then we'll chat, and you can let me know your most comfortable way to do that gift, and that kind of thing, and I can go and tell this donor that we are taking advantage of the match. And so now next week, I'm not going to tell you who did what, but next week I am going to tell you how we did. Okay, and I really we're maybe not that many folks here, but I just really think that God could do something, and I think that if we take a step of faith, it's going to please our God. It's going to make him smile this morning. I think we'll put a grin on my Jesus' face when we say, Lord, we're just going to trust you, and you are faithful, and we know that you're going to do a miracle here. So God, I just thank you for what you are doing in our community. I thank you for All Nations Church. Lord, I thank you for the little finger that I have been able to put on the little bit I've had to do with All Nations. I've gotten to preach over there before, and boy, are they fun to preach. They yell at you, and they sing. So one time they broke out in song while I was preaching. That was fun. These guys never did. But Father, I just pray that you would, I know you want to engage your people. I know that you want us to give with faith. And God, I just pray that you would help us get to that goal of $100 raised. $100 from this person. Lord, $200 a month until you speak to us to stop, or until you return, or until there's not a single Muslim left that needs to hear about you in our community. Lord, we just want to be a part, even if it's a small part, of getting your gospel in front of people. And Lord, we'll do anything short of sin to get you to one more person. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Jesus was a rock star.